Good evening. We've got a great group. You guys are talking already about the future of Pine City, so this is good. This is good. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. We're going to spend about an hour to maybe an hour and a half talking about a process that I call the working committee process. And what it is, it's a bottom-up process that allows all of you to come up with the ideas for Pine City. Now, we'll go into the details of all of this here in just a few minutes, but first I want to thank Scott Hildebrandt and the council for allowing this to happen. And I'll be honest with you, it's not very often that a municipality lets the community take the keys to the car and drive it around for like 4 or 5 months and come up with all the ideas that are all about the future of your community. Some cities really don't want a whole lot of engagement from the community. So you have a kind of a rare opportunity to really take advantage of this. And I know some people aren't able to be here tonight, so please tell your friends about all of this. Get them involved. You can go to the city website and sign up on these subcommittees as well. So this isn't just a one-shot deal tonight. So we want to encourage as many people to come as possible. I also want to thank Mike Gaynor for helping orchestrate all of this for this evening. So we appreciate that. And Sandy and Dustin here at the school for getting this arranged as well and hosting tonight. So let's give them a round of applause, get this thing going. So how many of you are just so excited to be here tonight and talk about or think about the future? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God, this is awesome. This is awesome. Anybody want to offer up why they're here, just to kind of get things going? Anyone? I saw your hand come up.
Well, one thing I would say is, I think we need to think in terms of tourism for Pine City. As gas prices get more expensive, we're still in that magic hour from the metro, 2 lakes and a river. And actually, if there was somebody from Burnsville who said, let's go up to Pine City for the weekend, where would they stay? There's nothing.
Okay.
There's nothing.
We'll have opportunities for that. Anyone else want to just throw something out? Yes.
I think our community needs something for the kids.
Okay. Something for the kids? All right. Anyone else? Nita, sorry. Okay. Well, we'll be creating wish lists and we'll be working on them, so. Anybody else? All right. How many of you are here going, I really don't know why I'm here, I'm just coming to check it out? It's okay. It's all right. Okay. I see one hand. We won't say who. All right. So this is all kind of how we start this process going, but we're going to get more involved in that. But just a little background on me, actually, if you want to know who I am. I'm Todd Streeter. I am the principal of Community Collaboration. I'm a former mayor of the city, which they still allow me to live there, which is good. And I learned a lot when I was a mayor. I learned a lot about what cities do really, really well. And I learned a few things that cities don't always do so well. Yes?
What city were you the mayor?
Lake St. Croix Beach. Yep. Along the St. Croix River, down by Afton and that area. And I learned that there's better ways of working with communities and the residents in which you are officiating your official capacity. And to give you an example of kind of how this really kind of got started, I would sit in the middle of my 2 other counterparts on either side of me, and we'd have someone come up during the open comment period, and they would have a comment or an issue or maybe a complaint about something. And my reaction would be, great, thank you for sharing, and what are your suggestions to resolve it? And they would kind of have the deer in the headlight looks and go, well, now wait a minute, that's not really my deal. I'm just here to tell you what's not right. It's your guys' ideas or responsibility to make it work, figure it out. And I would say, well, There's 5 of us up here. We don't have a monopoly on great ideas. So if you have any suggestions, you must be thinking about this for some time. So, help us out. And we would invariably meet for coffee somewhere. Is my mic a little scratchy? Yeah. If it's annoying for you, it's annoying for me too. I've got more mics tapped into me here. Okay, is that better? Okay, great. So we would go meet coffee, we'd have coffee, and we'd figure out something that would work fairly well on that. So that kind of started this exchange of how do we actually get the communities engaged in trying to find solutions for things that don't go so well and take advantage of opportunities of things that do. So that was one experience as mayor. I went on to create a community foundation for 5 cities that are down in the Lake St. Croix Beach area. And community foundations can play a very unique role. Am I still losing my mic?
Just take it off.
Can you hear me now? Yes. All right. Let me de-technology myself here. Okay. So the community foundations, and I understand you have one in Pine City, am I correct? Okay. Community foundations can play a very critical role in helping the community attain some of the things that it would like to try to achieve. We did this down in the lower St. Croix Valley. This foundation is part of an affiliation with the St. Croix Valley Foundation, which has about 8 or 9 different affiliate foundations throughout Wisconsin and Minnesota. I think Chisago is, one of the closer ones up this direction. Anyhow, so that is part of my mindset when I work with municipalities and communities. My other experience was the Community Development Director President of the St. Croix, I'm not St. Croix, but the Stillwater Chamber Area of Commerce. And in that experience, obviously working with downtown, working with community, working again with all the city municipalities, not just in Stillwater, but Oak Park Heights, Bayport, and Lake Elmo. So what I did in my less than first year there, we created a community symposium which became an economic development driver for the 4 cities. And we had town hall meetings within those 4 cities. We established a board, if you will, or a committee that had all 4 mayors on that committee, and we had other department heads and so forth and non-profit organizations on that process as well. Of the 6 opportunities we created, one of them was downtown revitalization of Stillwater. How many of you have been to Stillwater? Yeah, most everybody. All right, it looks awesome, doesn't it, right? All those brownstone buildings, and it's on the river. Not all things look like as they seem, right? Small communities, downtowns, not everyone gets along. Some things aren't at high efficiencies. It's like having a 1934 Duesenberg with 16 cylinders and it's running on 6 or 7, right? And when you're behind the scenes, like a chamber guy or others, things aren't working the way they could, right? So we kicked off this downtown revitalization process, and the very first meeting we had some people sit there and go, Todd, we've done this before. And I go, okay, what did you do? And they said, well, 6 of us got together and we created a notebook. Great. I go, what did you do with the notebook? And they said, nothing. I go, why? They said, because we didn't want to do the work. Oh, okay. I said, well, we're not going to use that strategy. We're not creating notebooks. And somebody else said, well, what are we going to do? And I said, well, I know another strategy is a couple of you go up to City Hall and pound your fist on the table and say, make my downtown better. How's that working out for you? No, it wasn't working out. And this was back in 2010, 2011, and of course we just came off a recession. So I said to all 40 people in the room, property owners, business owners, city officials, and county officials and commissioners, and I said, look, you don't have a choice. You have to do the work, right? You have to do the work. No one is going to come down and save your downtown. The city we're all coming off a recession. They're not going to float a bunch of money downtown to make your world better. And who's ultimately responsible for making your world better? downtown should be responsible for making their world better, right? They need to start to work together, figure out what their future is and what they want to look like, and then start making it happen, right? So they said, well, how's this going to work? And I said, well, we're going to form a committee. We're going to have subcommittees based on specific topics that we need to focus on. That would make sense. And then you guys are going to have to do the work. And they go, well, okay, you know. So we launched this DRC, Downtown Revitalization Committee. And for 2.5 years, we took summers off because it gets a little bit busy in Stillwater. And they came up with incredible work. And I said, look, you're going to come up with your ideas. You're going to go up before City Hall. You're going to do your presentations. And you're going to show the work and the ideas that you think would help revitalize downtown. And that's exactly what they did. Now, I'll also share something else with you, too. The city, I had lunch with one of city officials, and they go, Todd, we should be doing this. And I go, yeah, but you're not. And they go, no, we should be doing this. And I go, yeah, I know, but you're not. And I said, and besides, you don't have a great relationship with downtown. So maybe you aren't the ones who should be driving this, right? I'm a chamber guy. Economic development's kind of in my bucket, right? So I go, just relax. All of you guys are on all the committee meetings and agendas and summaries, so you're all in the loop. Let's just see how this rolls. And they've seen this happen before, and they've seen it fail. So they said, well, okay, good luck. Well, after 2.5 years, and they've seen the presentations from the DRC group, and they've seen the attitudes change within downtown, and people working together for, you know, a substantial amount of time. The community development director called me and they said, hey, we're going to work on our comprehensive plan, and we're going to start with our downtown chapter first. Can we utilize all of the DRC's ideas to help us put the request for proposal together? I said, that'd be fine. So not only did we have the community downtown starting to learn how to work together, but we had a city who was kind of put off by this process, to be honest with you, come full circle and say, wow, I can't believe the change that has happened downtown. They've stopped complaining, they've stopped calling. You guys are trying to figure it all out. You've got great ideas, and we'd like to try to use them to promote downtown. So I can't explain to you, as people who are interested in this process, what it truly looks like at the end, but we will see a video here in a few minutes, and you will be able to see one city go through this process. Any initial questions before we go any further? All good? You're on the edge of your seats? Okay. Just checking. Let's start with the presentation. And I think Scott has made his comments already, correct? Yep. Okay, so we will not replay those. So first, I want to talk about, very briefly, what I referred to as a traditional community engagement approach, and is kind of what you see here. And in most communities, when a city wants to present a project or a process to the community, they will have more than likely an open house. They will have people there. They will inform the community relatively to what we're doing right now. And they will say, this is what we're doing. Come back in about 2 or 3 months after our planners have done all their ideas, and they'll present your ideas or their ideas to you. Does that sound familiar? Right? And because this is done time and time again across the entire country, this is kind of what happens. Nobody comes to the open houses because they don't see a lot of value in it, right? You show up for 10, 15 minutes and you see somebody else's ideas. Maybe you like them, maybe you don't, right? Then, if they ask you to participate, you're kind of going, well, why should I? The planners already have all the ideas. How can I contribute? What's the point? And even if you have 2 or 3 meetings, there's really no point in trying to convey your ideas because there's no real purpose behind it other than just listing some wish list ideas for the planners to consider. Make sense? And then there's always that proverbial fear of the predetermined outcome. Why should I do anything? Because they've already made up their minds. Be it the planners, be it city staff, be it elected officials. It's kind of self-defeating. It's really hard to get the community behind anything when it's really run by somebody else. It's somebody else's ideas. You meet for 1 or 2 or 3 times at most, and it just doesn't give you guys a chance to really participate. That's the beauty of the old traditional model. It just doesn't work. Now, with the working committee approach, we take it and we do the all upside down, or in my way I say right side up. And that is, we have a structured process, and this is what you'll see as we go through this. And we establish a common vision. It's not what I think Pine City should be doing. It's not what city staff or elected officials think should be doing. It's what all of you participating on the committee have concepts, ideas, then recommendations that you think Pine City should be doing or look like in the future. So together through this process, you end up with a kind of a common shared vision, even with the subcommittees working on very specific topics. When you do this over an extended period of time, you start getting community buy-in. You get community buy-in. You get buy-in on your subcommittee as you're working on these ideas. You get buy-in then in the larger committee, which we will be forming. And then as you're working on this over a period of time, you'll start getting more buy-in from friends, family, other people that you're sharing this with. And sooner than later, down the road, you have more of a general community buy-in from the whole process. And this can only happen when you do the work. You can't get buy-in if you're not creating the work. And once you get the buy-in, and once you've been doing this for some time, and you finally have your recommendations that you want to bring before City Council and the community, you have ownership of those ideas. And there is not a stronger position or concept or value than the ownership of your ideas and your work, because that's really what makes everything happen moving forward. You own it, you want to see it happen, you'll do almost anything to help make it happen. And when this happens, you end up getting a lot of people who say, I love that idea, what can I do to support it? I can give you some money. I may not have time to participate on the committee, but I've got money that I can strike a check to, and we can't see if we can't make that happen. With the Downtown Revitalization Committee in Stillwater, when we were talking about the biking trails and the other things that we could be doing downtown, I was literally getting phone calls at the chamber saying, hey, Todd, I saw your article in the paper about the biking stations. Where do I write a check? Who do I give money to? You'd be surprised. In this one city we did the open house to, which I'll explain in a minute, one of the subcommittees had somebody walk up and say, I love these ideas for the parks. Where can I write a check? It happens. It just doesn't seem like it would, but it truly, truly does. The long-term benefit of this process, and for all of you here and those that will join later, is that you end up establishing a collaborative relationship. And this is the key to the future of Pine City. It is the key to having a better relationship and a collaborative relationship between the community and the city staff and elected officials and nonprofit organizations, all of you working together with a common vision of what the future could hold. Now I want to take a moment and talk about New Richmond. I had done some work for the city of Cambridge, which was not obviously too far from here, and I did a downtown revitalization initiative with them. It was a 6-month process, and they came up with over 50 recommendations for their presentation to the community. And shortly thereafter, I got a phone call from the city of New Richmond, and they said, Todd, we heard about your process. We kicked off our comprehensive plan, and we had to stop it after 2 meetings. And I go, why did you have to do that? And they said, well, because the person leading the engagement process was talking about ingress and egress and all these engineering terms, and had totally lost everybody who was there to volunteer their time. I go, okay, I got it. And they go, we need something different. And I said, I can give you something different, but you have to agree to and understand what different means. And so we met, and I explained to them that when I say different, I mean you have to step aside and you let the community drive the process. And it might be uncomfortable, might even be scary for some, but just believe that your community is not going to drive your community off the road, okay? Everyone loves their community they live in, so, you know, no one's going to suggest that you bring the London Bridge out of Arizona and bring it to Pine City, okay? So they agreed to go with the process. So I'm going to show a short video, and you'll understand or see a little bit more about what this is all about.
So we have a number of people here in the audience today who have worked really, really hard over the last 8 months or so on our comprehensive plan, which we've kind of dubbed Forward New Richmond. So they've spent a lot of time thinking about what can New Richmond be and how can we move forward. And they're an enthusiastic group. I really enjoyed working with them. We're really excited about it. We really want to thank you guys for all the work that you've put in. And I know the council has a few things to say.
I just want you to know that I was very impressed. I know other members of the council, they can speak for themselves, but I was impressed at the effort, the concreteness of the plan. They weren't just pie in the sky ideas. There was real kind of a map on how to get there. They were fresh ideas. I think they were great ideas to kind of plot the course of city government and planning going forward. And I thought it was just incredible, the number of new faces, the number of people that I didn't know that were part of this. And I think that's unbelievably refreshing. It was just a great job. So I just want to congratulate all of you.
Yeah, I'd like to say that I was following this along from the beginning. I went to most of the meetings. A lot of times the meetings would be like 4:30 until 6 or 6:30, and people stayed longer. Sometimes they stayed an hour longer just talking about it. They really got into it after a while, and that was a key thing. We had so many new people put the extra time in. I was amazed at how you put it together. I was just so proud of you people. Great job. I just thank you for doing it.
I'd like to say thank you also. It was fun to just watch how community process takes place. It's just amazing what you've done, and it really shows through that you really care about the city and where we're going. And I think that's huge. So I just want to thank you and really respect you, and it's a great job. So thanks.
You know that we are all thankful. You have laid such a strong foundation in your research, in your time, in your thoughtfulness. I'm going to take this to the League of Wisconsin Municipalities and have it used as protocol for teaching comprehensive plans throughout the state, because it's that good. The work is amazing. In talking with persons throughout the state about how their comprehensive planning is going versus how ours is, they're like, tell us more, tell us more. Where did you find these people? Are they experts? And I'm like, no, these are regular citizens. These are residents. I'm emotional because you take my breath away. If this kind of commitment could be found, and if you could spread this throughout the entire community and the county and the state, what a great environment we would have. So thank you.
This is a group that really has exceeded expectations beyond anything that we could have imagined. And on behalf of staff, I thank you so much for what you've done. We appreciate it.
In the beginning, that first day, there was a group of people from a very diverse group of people, business owners and stay-at-home moms and other community residents. And so it was fun to look around and just see how are they going to help us all go through this process together to come up with a finished product.
What's been very helpful, what I like about it, is just the tutoring and the mentoring that was shown to the various committee chairmen and committees along the way. Just sense of what our task was. Todd's been a great help in just helping us to get a handle on what our task is as a district.
The way I would describe this process is to not be afraid to get involved and to be yourself with the standpoint of knowing that what you have to offer is valid and you have very good ideas no matter who you are out there. You don't have to be an architectural designer or a city planner or a teacher or work in the community council. You can just be a regular person and get involved.
We have different committees are presenting their best work, and not all of the ideas are going to meld 100%. And so there needs to be communication about that and what's best, what this community let go of.
It's a lot of work, but you only get out what you put in. And I think if you're willing to roll your sleeves up and be involved and work together with your fellow citizens, then you can make a difference in your own community. And I think that's probably the most important thing that you can give to your community.
It was an honor, it is an honor to be able to come and not only be part of it, but to hear from the city staff and how excited they are to have us take part in this process. Really, like I think I always thought city governments or just government was, they just don't care and they're out there, but they're passionate about this and they really want to get back and support it. So that's been a real encouragement to me, and so it makes me feel honored. It's a fun process. I've learned a lot, and I can tell you I'm quite passionate now.
Does that give you a little more insight as to kind of what this could be for Pine City? What you guys could do? Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about the process now as it pertains to all of you. The first thing is that we want to really focus on trying to create what it is that you want, but that is generally speaking a very vibrant housing, public facilities, commercial districts, parks, recreation. And before I go much further, I should ask all of you, how many of you know what a comprehensive plan really is all about? A couple? Okay. Basically said, it's kind of like a business plan for the city and the community in one, and it needs to be updated every 10 years because a lot can change in 10 years, so they always need to keep their eye on the future and keep orchestrating resources to make those things happen. So that's the typical comprehensive plan. What normally happens is that there would be a contracted planner writing this plan, getting the information, holding the traditional open houses, and then supplying the document back to the city codifies it, approves it, and then it sits on a shelf. That's what happens, right? Planners, city planners and the city officials will refer to it from time to time if somebody wants to create a residential development or a commercial development and they want to make sure that things fall into that comprehensive plan. So it becomes a very stagnant, very heavily plannered, worded document, right? So when New Richmond contacted me and they said, well, okay, I mean, let's try this bottom-up process. And I said, great. I said, one more thing. We need to change your comprehensive plan. And they kind of go, what? And I said, look, I said, you don't need something that's 200 pages thick. And they did want to make it far more readable. But I said, you also need to make this plan something the community can understand and read. In other words, it needs to be a community document, not a planning document. So they said, okay, I get it. That makes some sense. And I said, we're going to change the names of some of these major topics within the comprehensive plan so they can assimilate to the interests of the community. And they go, okay. So, and I said, at the end of the day, you're going to be creating a community action plan, not just a comprehensive plan. It's one and the same, but the city will approve and codify a comprehensive plan, you're going to be working on the community action plan part of this comprehensive plan. Is that making sense? Because what you're doing is you're going to be putting ideas into that comprehensive plan in a different format. The city will be writing that in a little different way to make that document something that they're more than happy to share with anybody who wants to move into the community, start a business in the community, or do whatever in the community. Okay? This is a document that does get shared and purposely with anyone who wants to see it. So this is what we're really kind of talking about, some of these major topics within the comprehensive plan. So we also want to make sure that we can try to accomplish all of these things and anything else that you think may be of value to the community. So it's not just not these, but these are good things to think about and maybe find some ideas for. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the work that you do and the ideas that you discover that is what's going to be represented within your work. What we're really looking for is forward-thinking ideas. I should mention that on the onset here, we're not really talking about the past. We aren't really focusing on things that didn't work so well in the past. We're really focusing our vision on the future. So it may not seem important to you. My experience in Stillwater was a lot of people focused on the past, and it prevented them from moving forward, as you might guess, right? So this is all about forward thinking. We are only thinking about the future. That is all we kind of care about. And we're only looking for great ideas that will support a better future for everybody in general totality, right? Sustainability is a big thing these days, of course, but at the end of the day, we are going to be producing some collective ownership from the work that you've done. And I can't tell you, as you saw in the video, how the Common Council of New Richmond, how they felt about the outcome of that process, considering how they had to stop at the initial one. I should also mention that process with the City of New Richmond won the American Planners Association Award for the state of Wisconsin for innovation and engagement. So they went from one extreme to the other. Now, in terms of what the resulting ideas or projects or recommendations are coming out of this group, nobody knows. New Richmond asked me, well, what ideas are they going to have? I said, I don't have a clue. You know, I'm not here to tell you what to think or do. I'm not here to give you suggestions. It's all about what you think Pine City could or should be. So in terms of how the group's going to be working together, it's about consensus building. All ideas are good. Everyone's trying to find things that make sense. There's a lot of brainstorming going on in the beginning. And you're going to go out there and you're going to look for great examples on the internet from other communities when you're researching a general idea that you're contemplating that you may want to recommend out of your subcommittee. So this is kind of what we're trying to do, and we want everybody to be involved. So it's just not one group or one aspect of the community. It's all aspects of the community should be as much as possible represented in this process. One of the key things I had to mention to the City of New Richmond as the only real caveat of this process is that the word no doesn't exist. So there won't be anyone affiliated with the city who's going to be watching over your shoulder and say, oh, no. That ain't going to happen. We don't like that idea. Okay? That's the only rule is that the word no doesn't exist. You guys are going to figure it out. I mean, you don't need someone else telling you it's not going to work, right? Everyone's reasonable, right? So generally speaking, so within your subcommittee, as you go through this process, you'll see that you're going to come to consensus with your subcommittees as what you really want to work on and move forward. Okay. You kind of self-vet. So that usually makes everyone at the city feel just a little bit easier, a little bit. All right, I don't care who is doing what in their community. I don't care where you're coming from. It does not matter to me at all. It should not matter to anyone else either. You're all in this game, all helping out with what you want to do collectively for the community. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, and again, we're looking for a collective vision, and that will occur over time. What we ask of you is your participation and a sincere effort to attend the regularly scheduled meetings, and I'll get into that in a second, and work with your subcommittee members, be available with them in between the regular meetings we'll be having, and just put your best foot forward and work to make things happen. Actively participate, contribute, of course. I should mention that, and I do this with every kickoff meeting, if there's anyone who has a specific thing that they don't like, that really is in the craw, and they'll do anything to change it or whatever, and it keeps them up at night, this is probably not the committee that's going to make that happen for you. I'm just saying. So if there's an agenda that you want to try to fulfill through this process, probably isn't going to really happen here. Because again, this is about the bigger picture, right? And we had a gentleman on our New Richmond committee who couldn't get over one aspect of the city, and I just simply said, well, why don't you take this issue and go research on it and then show the community how we could correct it? Knowing that he had two choices. One is to be a solution-oriented person who was then going to take that challenge and get off that other agenda and find the solutions and hold them up to the city and say, look at all these things we could do. Or he could say, no, I'm happy being a complainer and I'm just not happy, and I'll be unhappy the rest of my life. And the chair of the committee, I talked to him the next day after proposing this, and he said, oh, did you hear about so-and-so got off the subcommittee? I go, okay, see? So it's really your choice. You can really participate and be collectively and make it all happen. If it's not working out for you, you'll know. Does that make sense? Am I kind of getting it? Okay. We do have some assignments, more so in the first part of the process than the latter half. We're just trying to keep things on track, and you'll know more about that as we go through it. And we'll have one event, and that will be, our duration for this project's a little shorter than others I've worked with, so we're going to be having a community presentation at the conclusion of this. So that's the one big event that we'll do. So in terms of this project, we are kicking it off tonight, and we are scheduled to wrap this whole process up around July 14th or so, mid-July. We would prefer not to be having you take your time over spring and summer to do this kind of work. Winter and fall is a great time, and early spring. But obviously the timing is not what it is for that. So we are going to ask your indulgence to stick in, be there, hang in there. I know spring and summer gets really busy with all sorts of stuff, but we're trying to make this work and keep it short, and hopefully this will all be okay. Was that all good? Okay. Meetings. We're going to meet every 2 weeks. We're going to have a large committee meeting, very similar to right now. We don't quite have the location quite figured out yet, confirmed, but we will meet regularly scheduled meetings every 2 weeks. And what will happen is the subcommittees will already be formed based upon what you fill out here in a few minutes. And the subcommittees are going to report on the work and ideas that they've been doing for the last 2 weeks. And this keeps rolling week after week after week. Each subcommittee keeps refining their work. They keep sharing it with the larger committee. Everybody hears what all the other committees are doing, and you start getting the big picture every 2 weeks on how this is all developing and growing. Is that making sense? Okay. The meeting times, basically, they're on the sheet. You can kind of choose what you may be available for. I can say that we can't obviously accommodate everybody's schedule because that would be semi-impossible. So we have to kind of go with the best, highest numbers of groupings to try to make this work. We hope your schedule maybe can be tweaked a little bit to get you into these regularly scheduled meetings. I know that you can't make every single meeting. I get that. But you've got a subcommittee that you're kind of working with and engaged in. So just stay on top of that. And if you can't make a regular scheduled meeting, I get it. That's fine. But just stay involved in the process and then come to the one that's 2 weeks later. Make sense? These meetings will basically run roughly 2 hours because we're going to have each subcommittee talking about what they've been working on, and then you'll be breaking back into your subcommittees to continue the work that you've been doing. So, typical meeting format, that's pretty much it. I don't know if we'll have any presenters necessarily come in. I have had those come in the past where we've had people and speakers come in and talk about a specific topic that would be helpful to the group. We'll see if that can happen. I don't know necessarily if it will, but we'll work on that perhaps. And then offline activities is really about your subcommittee working on this stuff, your ideas, your recommendations in between those 2-week meetings. And I can assure you that once you kind of start seeing your work kind of develop, you're going to get excited. And you're not going to want to not work on it. You're going to want to work on it. So you're going to find yourselves just naturally gravitating to wanting to get together once or maybe twice within that period between the 2 meetings. Is that helping with that? Kind of how that works? So this is very hands-on. I am not a helicopter person or a control freak, or detailed person. This is your thing. I'm here to guide it, facilitate it, communicate with you, keep everything moving down the tracks, and provide the guardrails so nothing falls off. That's really about it. Everything in between those 2 guardrails is all yours. It's your stuff. You're on your own. Like I said, there isn't anyone telling you what to think or what works or what doesn't work. This is something you all have to figure out. And then again, you're here to look at all new stuff. And there's basically, consider things that aren't working that you're aware of within the topic choice that you'll put down on the paper. Figure out maybe what's missing in this community that could be brought in, and any other fresh ideas that don't exist currently that you know of that exist somewhere else. So you've got a full range of opportunities to think about. It's just not all problem solving. You can go out and grab some great ideas out of the blue if you want. Okay? And don't be afraid to pick up the phone or shoot an email to something or some entity or some group or something to find out more about what it is that you want to find out more about. Does that make sense? I mean, some cities kind of, well, I don't want anyone calling anybody about anything about our city. Well, that doesn't make any sense, does it? You're here to do research and find out what makes sense and bring it forward towards the end of the process. So if you need to reach out, it's not like you're going to combine the city to a contract, right? Because you can't anyway, right? So just do the research and don't be afraid to pick up the phone and make a phone call. So these are the things that you can be doing. It could be a vibrant downtown. It could be new housing options. It could be parks and trails. It could be things for kids to do. And you'll see how this all kind of plays out here in just a few seconds. Research other successful communities. In this instance, we're kind of talking about a vibrant downtown. You'd research other downtowns. What other communities have done what to make their downtown rock and roll? I remember when we did Cambridge, we had people saying, well, why don't we have outdoor patios? Well, I mean, Minneapolis had been doing that for quite some time. Come to find out, the city of Cambridge wouldn't allow it in their ordinances. So they changed that, right? So these are the kind of things that, you know, you're going to maybe be challenging some of the existing stuff that may already be in place that may need to be changed. So let's everybody working together. You're going to be collecting images, white paper, if you find a document that really is awesome in terms of really highlighting what it is that you're thinking of, download it and keep it, and then we've got it, right? Any images, and the images are kind of the leading visual factor of this process. Grab anything off the internet that is an example of what it is that you're seeing in your mind and that you think could be utilized in Pine City. With that collection of stuff, you're going to start to tell the story of your subcommittee and the potential for Pine City. And part of that, in terms of a comprehensive plan, is a vision and guiding principles statements. They're pertinent to a comprehensive plan. You're going to be writing these statements per your subcommittees, and that will be incorporated into this document. So you are setting the parameters of what these major chapters are within the comprehensive plan. The city will be able to provide us, or provide you, with maps and other materials to help you do your work. But at the end of the day, any maps or any drawings or anything that you can create that show parks and trails as you envision them, this is what we want to have as an output, something we want to share back to the city. These are the 6 subcommittees that we've identified. And you'll see on the right is that exciting planner terminology. Transportation infrastructure. That's pretty exciting stuff, isn't it? So I said, no, Richmond, come on. We got to talk about community connectivity. What's making people move in and about your community? Where does it start? Where does it stop? What's in the way? I mean, how can we get around easier in the community? What could we do? Do we get segways? Do we use bikes? Are they dangerous? Do we have, lanes? What's the condition of all this stuff? So that's what we're talking about, really talking about community connectivity. Public facilities, safety or services. When we think about public facilities, sometimes we think about the amphitheater, we think about the library, we think about these things that communities hold dear, which are shared by all in the community. And they are typically the precipice of community pride, right? So this is what we call it, community pride. So when you think about Pine City, think about those things that could bring stronger community pride to everyone within Pine City, within that context. Creating community, that is really an important chapter within the comprehensive plan. It's land use, it's zoning, this one is kind of like looking at a checkerboard or a puzzle and trying to make sure all the pieces make sense as you look at them. And a lot of it already exists because it's already currently zoned and it's laid out a certain way already, right? But things change, and so this committee is going to be trying to understand what might want to go where in anticipation in the next 10 to 15 or 20 years. And that has a lot to do with housing, different types of housing stock. Are you short on single level empty nester housing? Is the community demographics changing? Are people who are retired going to have to move out of Pine City because there's no real place for them to downsize? It's those kind of issues that this committee is going to be working on. Downtown revitalization, that kind of speaks for itself. It's really looking at all the different things that other cities have done to really jazz up and bring life back to their downtown. And in my opinion, anything's on the table as far as that goes. Just go out and find some great ideas. Cambridge did a great job, 50 recommendations, and they turned things around quickly on making those actually happen. Economic prosperity, that's a bigger, larger footprint of economic development, warehouse, distribution, railroad tracks. I mean, how do you bring business into the community at large? And is that a good thing? I mean, what are we missing? Employment is always a major issue within communities. Are you losing employment? Do you have too many jobs, not enough jobs? And all of that has to do pretty much with economic prosperity and creating a very, very strong economic base for your community to which almost anyone can have a job and do well, right? And of course, a lot's changed in the last 2 years as far as how people do their jobs. So a whole nother discussion, right, on how that works. And last but not least is parks and trails, recreation. I think we all know what that means. But when we're looking at it, it's just not parks and trails. We're really talking about the quality of life. You need to, I know you all live here, right? But picture yourself for a while through this process that you don't live here, that you might want to move here. And then ask yourself, what would really be kind of cool to have in this community that would make me want to move here? And from this perspective, for me, it's the quality of life. Most people, when they look at moving to a community, it's all the amenities and it's everything that it offers that drives them to want to choose one place to live over another. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions on any of these 6 subcommittees? Yeah.
Kind of thinking of a next step, these obviously relate and integrated. What happens with sort of synthesizing and making that all come together? You know, a park has an implication for land use.
Yep.
What happens?
Well, what happens through this process, and I'm hoping I'm going to try to answer your question, is that as each subcommittee goes through their ideas, the other subcommittees are going to see and look and make mental note and go, you know, if they're doing this here and we're doing this thing over here, maybe we can make those two connect and flow better. So this is kind of why you want these subcommittees working in tandem, because you have no idea how you're going to be able to mesh some of these recommendations together. And when you do that, you leverage them, makes it easier for the city to say, oh yeah, we like both ideas and we can accomplish both with one stroke as opposed to doing them separately. Make sense? Did I answer your question okay? Did I do good? Okay. Who else has a question? No other question? Okay. So what we're all migrating towards is you'll be taking these initial ideas, vetting them through yourselves and your subcommittee, trying to hone in on the ones that really stand out the best, and then get and package your story of what those are with your images and maybe some white paper and maybe some statistics or whatever you can do to give the rationale as to why this is a good recommendation. And then we're going to put those in a PowerPoint presentation, and each subcommittee will then be giving a presentation to the City Council and the community on what it is that you've been working on for 4.5, 5 months. Does that sound exciting? Does it sound nerve-wracking? Uh-huh, yeah. Amen. So we are getting very, very close. Very close. So this basically says cities have the capacity of providing something for everybody only because and only when they are created by everybody. It's the golden rule. And the city has given you the chance to do exactly that. Exactly that. So, we've reached the conclusion of the official presentation stuff, these slides. What questions do you have? I'll take any question at all. Yes?
Thank you. My name is Jim Franson. I'm a citizen of Pine. I have notes that I've talked to the city about. And this is in regards to information that we need, as whatever committee we're on, to have a basis to start from. In other words, there have been studies in the past about the city in regards to who shops in Pine City. That'd be nice to have that document, even though it's, 15 years old? I mean, that's a place to start from.
Yep.
And during that conversation, we had days, well, okay, we got people coming from Minneapolis, yeah, wait a minute, they're up here on their lakeshore lot. So they're not actually coming from Minneapolis because they got a lakeshore lot here and they're living here during the summer times. So realistically, what is the most amount of folks we get in here? And that's people from our school district, we figured out. Because our school district is pretty good size. So that, you gotta narrow down some of these things. Some of these things we need to widen out. What's gonna happen to Pine Tech? What's their future plans? What's the future plans of the school district? We need to have that information as we start these things, because we get halfway through these and all of a sudden the school district says, well, we're gonna close down. What? Or, we're gonna add a swimming pool. Well, okay. There's things like that that we need to have that information from. And the other thing is from the city, I wanna know the city, the county, the state, who owns property in the city of Pine City, where that's at. Because to me, that's my property. And if that can be sold, because there's nothing on it but grass, let's do that. So there's things like that that all enter into that, and I need that information ahead of time or at that first time we meet together, so that I can start from there and work to the future.
I see. Thank you very much for that. And I see Mike's pen is going feverishly here as you were speaking. The city will be able to provide you with information that is pertinent to the process that they have in their possession. If there's anything else that you need questions to, you can bug Mike, certainly. Or don't be afraid to talk to the school district and see if they've got a recent planning document that you could take a look at. So you're going to have to do a little research sometimes on some of these things yourself. Whatever the city has possession of that they can give you that will help the cause, they will do that. But there's always gaps in information all the time. So you're free to find out what that information is and where to get it and make that call.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Another question. Yes. Yeah.
My name is Kevin Darris, Videography Community. To capitalize on what he was saying, I know I heard some people talk about parks and recreation stuff as far as things to do for kids. I guess it would be in our best interest then to get with the community, because I'm sure City Hall's already got some plans out there and some things out there that they need assistance on to get these programs and these lots moving along. Has the city decided on who's liaison there, or who we can contact direct, or is there a chain of emails that we can maybe get that we can start bringing people on board so we can start asking these pertinent questions?
Yes. You'll be asking a lot of questions in the very beginning. Some answers you will get from the city, and some answers the city may say, come up with your own ideas, right? So it's kind of a combination of both. This is more meant to be a freewheeling exercise for yourselves as we go along. If in other words, there are certain things that are kind of cast in stone just because they are, and we work around them or be creative. Some things you may want to challenge. You may want to say, why do we do it that way? Can't we do it a different way? And that's all okay. That's all okay, right? So again, I'm not answering your question extremely well, but you kind of get what I'm kind of getting at. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Another question. No? No question? No? All right.
Weekly time commitment, what would you say this is going to be?
The time commitment? Time commitment would be 2 hours every 2 weeks for the structured bi-monthly meetings.
And this in-between stuff?
And in between stuff, per your own organizing your time together with your subcommittees to move things along.
Probably another 2 hours.
Another 2 hours, maybe.
That's 4 hours.
That's 4 hours, yep. And then if you spend a few more hours on your own, on your computer, researching stuff that you want to bring back to your subcommittee, that could be another two more hours or something.
So 6 hours every 2 weeks.
Roughly, yeah. And we don't have time cards or anything, so we'll
No,
just,
but-
yeah. But
But, you know, I'm older these people that have young children,
Yep.
that's a lot of time when they're trying to raise a family and make a living.
Yep.
So, you know, they have to get their priorities, what they're gonna do.
Yep. But this is,
It's a short time, but they have to realize that it's 6 hours every 2 weeks.
yep, yep. And I'm not saying that it's not easy for some to do this. It can be a challenge.
Be a sacrifice.
Exactly, exactly. But as we saw from the people on the video, when you do commit yourself to this, you'll be amazed at what you'd derive from it. So, yes, I can't say it in any other real way, but yeah, it is, and like I said, it is a bit of a time commitment. You need to be aware, but you will get more out of it than you put into it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks, Adrian, for that comment. We are older, but we're younger because we've been through this already.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But the other part is there may be some folks that can't make every meeting. There's other people on the committee. Let them know where you're at, what you're thinking. Then they can take that to the
Yeah. I mean, there's more communication going on amongst your subcommittee members than there is with me. I'm just doing the stuff as we go along to make sure we're hitting all the points. But the responsibility to be in touch and to move your recommendations forward per your subcommittee topics is really up to you. So you got to all kind of work together on it. Yeah, question.
I had a conversation with Jeff Johns. Where are you? Oh, there you are. About potentially a field house and a whole bunch of things about that. I just want to know what category it would fall into. Does it fall into public facility?
That's a good question.
Fall into
Is it a general field house for the full community?
do you want to pick it up or not?
I wasn't prepared, but.
We have our first subcommittee sub-briefing here.
I just want to know what category it falls in. Like a field house would be like imagine like a YMCA gym, but just like a field house, meaning that you could bring in, it would be used for, you could bring in soccer nets, basketball hoops, this and that, have a walking
Okay.
path, indoor walking path for seniors, maybe a top time. I used to, when I lived in Coon Rapids, the YMCA had a top time.
Okay.
And it would be during the day where parents could bring their younger children or daycare kids there. It was
Okay.
just basically an open gym when it wasn't being used for anything else, where they could just play in the winter. But
Pickleball courts.
I guess, yeah, I'm kind of feeling like would it fall under public
Yep.
facilities, not recreation, right?
Well, let me ask you a question before answering that one. Is there an entity in this community that would be a good one to talk to about that?
Well, I know Jeff knows more.
Probably the school or else the city, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The goal would be to literally put it on school property and have it connected.
Okay. That might be a great place to start that conversation, to see what they've got going on and see if they have land, resources, financing, money, grants, and see if it's something they want to partner on to make happen. Yeah.
So what category does it fall in?
Oh, I don't know.
Right? They're gonna morph into each other.
And you know what? I should tell you too that that you're going to find as these subcommittees are chatting back and forth about their ideas that some will overlap, and that's okay. And sometimes, on occasion, one committee may have to give up an idea that they thought of because it fits better with another committee, and they like the idea and they're going to work with it. So there's a little bit of negotiation that's going on. Steve.
Sometimes the school district, if you partner with the school district, you have to be careful with it. Because then they control it, and then the public kind of gets bumped out of it, because during the school day, you won't be able to use it, because it's locked up. You know, so I know Mora, I don't know how that one works. They've got parts of it's controlled by the, and parts of it is used by the school during the day. So they, you know, it's kind of like the
You
play.
have to have like contractual hours.
It's kind of like the playground at the elementary school. It's a great playground, but nobody can use it during school hours. So that's, you know, you gotta kind of look, there's gotta be a, you know, kind of a, it's gotta be a good joint effort when you do it and set that up ahead of time.
Sometimes it's
it's not accessible to more impoverished, challenged target needy youth. If it's associated with the school will put upon their guidelines, which may eliminate some of the community kids that really need it.
Is it times?
My fingers in it.
Or their guidelines that says if you've got trouble in school, you can't get school property. We need to use it like they need a person that needs something.
That's why I say you gotta look at, if you go into a contract with them, you have to.
Hey folks, that's a good idea, but don't stop just at the independent school district. We're sitting in a school right here.
They don't have any more room here.
Oh, wait a minute.
They already have their own expansion.
Wait a minute. No, that's not, no.
Oh.
You need partners.
Something like this is gonna be a pretty good price.
Ooh,
You need
thank you.
partners.
One more. Okay. You get. All right. Did everyone get a sign up form?
I did have a question.
Yes.
On the information when we were coming here, they said if there were enough youth that they would have a youth committee.
Yes.
Is that still in the works?
Let me say something about that. Thank you for bringing that up. We've got the 6 subcommittees. We did talk about it with Mike and Scott about, if we can get enough interest from our youth, we could establish a youth committee. They could give the perspective of their world in terms of how it augments with the community. So if there is interest from the youth, let's see if we can't maybe make that happen too. And probably get them at that every 2-week meeting as well. I don't think we could hold separate meetings for that. So understand a lot of scheduled activities for youth may not make that happen. But it's open. Let us know. Let Mike know. Give him a call. Shoot him an email. Let him know that you might be interested. Okay. Any other questions at all on anything? Anything? I think I was overhearing the conversation as I was passing this out about trying to find resources and getting people on the bus together. And that's exactly what this is kind of all about. I mean, you're already off starting it right now in the last 15 minutes. You're generating ideas, you're talking things through, and you're trying to figure out how to connect the dots. That's really what this is all about. But when after 5 months, you're going to be very specific on what your thoughts and ideas are and how those dots are connected. And you might even find some people who have already raised their hands to participate in one aspect or another based upon your idea or recommendation. And bring them forward. Let them know. Let them know. Yes?
My question is directed to Mike, since he's a city planner. Okay, so we're filling these forms out. When do you anticipate that we're going to get notified this is when we're going to meet?
Oh, it's really soon.
Well, what does that mean, tomorrow?
Well, we have to figure out the day.
Yep.
And the venue.
So sometime next week, probably.
Well, yeah, this is Wednesday.
Yep.
So probably, we're gonna shoot for Monday.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I will collect these. I will coordinate all the information you give me. And I don't have a pen on me. Let me, yep. And I will report back. Your email, please print your email so I can read it. I hate getting bounce backs because I'm off by a letter. If it bounces back or doesn't seem to come through, with your phone number, I can give you a call. So that helps. Please sign the back sheet of it. So we got everything all organized there. Any helpful talents or skills that you have is nice to know. Doesn't mean that we would overburden you with something that you're really good at. It just means that it's just nice to know that there's a resource that we could maybe tap onto, or you may want to offer to create some aspect of this process that make it kind of cool. Yes?
How do you work people that maybe weren't able to make it here tonight after Monday, once the communication is put out, that might want to get involved? Is there a point where it's a little bit too late to the game and the subcommittees are kind of too far along, or how do you manage that in the past?
I've mentioned this before, and I'll just, well, not so much here, but in the, I guess the press releases, that we know that today is just day one of just giving information, right? So not everybody who wants to participate can be right here at this minute. So please, one thing, tell everyone you know that this is happening and that we want them to participate. So that's number one. They can go to the city website and they can click on the link that says sign up. Is that what it says? Does it say sign up?
I didn't put it up there yet, but it'll be, I mean, it's up there, it's just not on the front page yet, but tomorrow it'll be on the front page.
Okay. And it will link to a jot form, and it's going to have the same information here. And I will get that information, and I will put it in here. They will go on a roster, and they will be on that email distribution list. I'm collecting your stuff tonight for those who want to participate, and I will be following up with communications within a matter of days, and we will figure out when that meeting date would be. Generally, think of it kicking off in 2 weeks. So that gives everyone kind of 2 weeks to kind of maybe hopefully arrange or rearrange their schedule a little bit to make this all work for themselves. And then I will be giving you some stuff in the next several days to work on before that first meeting. So it's nothing taxing, it's real simple stuff, but it's going to get you warmed up to figuring out how to get going. Does that make sense? Any other questions on this administrative thing? I'll be the one orchestrating this. Mike will be my liaison, as will Scott, and we'll be nurturing this. But bug me before you bug Mike, and then I will see if I can get information that you're looking for. And we'll be working it, but you'll be getting the communications from me as to agendas for the next meeting and anything that's in particular to how this is rolling. Yeah?
Well, like that said, we get the people up front, but let's say, we want July 14th, they said it was kind of the ending, right?
Generally.
So let's say somebody wants to jump in the end of May. Is it a no, or is it yes, come on in and get up to speed on?
They can jump in. I mean, I explain it this way. There may be a reason why you can't participate after a while with all your best intentions. If something comes up, in a project I had in Pleasant Prairie, we had 4 people move out of the community during the process. I can't hold them to that, So we know stuff happens. On the reverse side, if anybody in this community wants to jump into the committee, we'll take them. We take them anywhere. We're like a bus. We're going through the community for 4.5 months. You can hop on or you can hop off anywhere along the process. We want as many resources from this community applied to the project as possible. Any other questions?
Does anybody else need a pen?
Yeah, sorry, I brought a box of pens, but then I got distracted.
I stole them.
Did you?
Anybody else need a pen?
We already got them.
Oh, you got them? Oh, good.
All right. Pens, anybody else need an instrument to write with? All good? All right. So has this been kind of an interesting evening? Okay. Any comments you want to share about tonight? No? Are you kind of excited about the opportunity? Yeah. Sure. Does it look like it's going to be fun? Sure. No. You didn't see the people smiling and laughing and having fun on the video? All right. I sure do. I have a whole stack of them. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Yeah, and it's good if you're coming as a couple, it would be nice to have each person fill out a form. So if you need extra forms for spouses or significant others, grab one, or I'll give you one right now. Any other questions? All right. If you want to turn in these very, very important forms to me, I'll take them. All right. And then I look forward to seeing all of you in a couple weeks. Scott, anything you want to say to the group?
We do want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. We realize there is a time commitment. It may be 6 hours every other week. Maybe it's not that lengthy. But there's a lot of great volunteers in Pine City. There's a lot of people that love this community that have some fantastic ideas. So we're anxious to hear your ideas to see how we can implement them. If you know people, there's a lot of volunteers out there that couldn't be here on Wednesday nights. I think some of the other meeting days we're looking at are on Thursdays. So we can be flexible, we can change some of those nights to accommodate some schedules. As you said, if somebody needs to jump in mid-ship and share those ideas, they're more than welcome. So again, thank y'all for coming, and please spread the word.
I'll take forms. I'll take forms. I'll take forms.